Okay, so I'll use Java C, the Java compiler, main.java. I'll execute it. Okay, hopefully it will compile and it will create the class file main.class. Now I can run. Sorry, not like that. I forgot the Java main.main, and it will execute. This will be printed. This is exactly the syntax. This is the code and this is the output. So this is how you can run the Java code. The only restriction is that you can have command line based access to this container. No visual access is provided so far with this container, and I'm not sure how I can do that right now. Okay. Next thing is that we will see small example code in CPP. So I'll go nano, call it as hello cpp dot cpp. Have that code with me. I've written small programs. You could write bigger programs as well. I've not tested lot of programs on this, but I guess as far as our lab is concerned, whatever program we would want to do, we will be able to possibly do it. So I'll just tell you how to do it. From the host machine, you write the code, take that code into this editor, or ask student to code them directly into this editor. Then do control X. Yes, this will save it. Once it is saved, you can actually use G++ compiler. You say you provide the output name for that particular executable that it produces. Say hello cpp -o. Everything goes wrong, it will compile and give you the executable file hello.cpp, which you can execute ./hello.cpp. It prints you the hello world. Okay, so if I add that /n, it could have been better. I'll go to the nano. I add that /n at the end of this string so that just to make aware students how to do editing. Clear the screen. I recompile, create the executable, then I run the hello cpp. Now it prints hello world and the prompt comes into next line because of the editing that I done. Okay, now this was about Java, C++ program. You have GCC, so you can run definitely C program. I'm not going to show you that. Now we will actually see a Haskell file. So this is if you see the if you have seen on day one, Coombs ma'am has John ma'am has actually given you a demo of GHCI command interpreter. It is basically a REPL kind of interface, just like IPython interface or just like interactive interface for Python that we have. So if I run GHCI, then it will prompt me with the exact prompt that you got yesterday, Prelude. Okay, since I'm running it first time, it may take a little bit 10-20 seconds. So I've got this particular Prelude. The GHCI version that we're using is 8.02, 8.0.2 over here. Now, if I want to execute this, so this is actually a program, and so my mistake, I need not have these lines over here. Okay, this is a program, but say suppose I want interactively, so I can actually use let var 1 is equal to 2, and I can write let var 2 equals to 3. It's just the same way you did yesterday. Now we are doing it over here. Put strln. Yes, hopefully I've typed it correctly. And this is the message. I'm not writing that same message over here. That message gets printed. And if I write print var1 plus var2, so basically whatever you did yesterday, you can do it in this particular environment as well. If you want to quit this environment, use :q. This will make you come out of GHCI and come back to the container. Now, how do you execute this as a code? So for for executing this as a code, that is sample.hes, I have to first create the file sample.hl. hs. I'll do nano sample.sh. I copy this content. Sorry, I'm making some mistake in copying. This is the code that I have to copy. So coming here, pasting this code. So this is the code. You will understand in today's session how important the indentation is and why it is important. So I'm not explaining that. So I've saved it. GHC, this is the GHC compiler. I can write sample.sh. I can redirect the output created into file named sample1, and I'll execute. So it is linking sample1, compiling main, then linking, and then you come over here. And it said that sample.o is the output file that it has created. So this is the sample.o. So this is the compiled version of the code, and executable runnable code is sample1. So I can actually do dot slash sample1 will run that code. Even if I do dot slash sample, there's sample no such file, but if I do sample0, there's permission denied because it is not executable. I have to make it executable. By this command -o, I made sure that this sample1 becomes executable. So if I want to make sample executable, I'll do it like that, this, and now this will execute, right? So this was a very quick refresher of for you that you can run Java, C, C++, Haskell, and being a bash, you can do anything related to bash over here in this particular container. Hope you have understood how to use it. Now, how to get out of this container. So I was running this container. I can say exit, just like what you do in bash, and you exit out of the container. Now to check whether my container is still running or what is the container like right now. So I can say container and the name of the container. The name of the container, I guess. So I'll do ls. It says nothing. It displays nothing because no container is executing right now. But I'll go back and I'll run this container. Okay, now the container is running. I'll go to another terminal. Please just make that string go off. That bigger. Yeah. Now, if I use uh, container, container, sorry, not containers, docker space. Container ls, it will show me the container currently running. So now the container id, so this is not shown properly because the width is less. So if I make the width correct, so container id is this. If I actually copy this, you'll see that this same id appears over here. It shows that container is currently running. This is the time since which the container is running. As I switch off the container, it stops executing, and you also stop seeing it over here. But if I want to know all the containers that I have previously run, this is how you get the list. So bit about it is a long list of containers that I'm trying executing. I hope you have understood how to use the container in a brief way, and hopefully this will be helpful for you to use the container as well. Now, before I close this session, there would be a lot of questions in your mind that how do I use this? So I have simple uh, way chalked out in my mind. What you can do is you can have a machine in your lab with maybe 4 to 8 GB of RAM and a decent hardware open to the world using SSH access. Okay, that is make it out of your institute's firewall, so that it is accessible from outside. Any of your admins could give you that kind of access. Once that is done, you can create a lot of users on that particular Linux machine. Per student, one user you could create. And since you're working with a batch of 15 or 20 students, you can allow those students to have remote access. These users will have their own home directories. So whatever they are working on will be worked on these home directories. On this machine, lab machine of yours, you are going to have the this machine. You are going to have the container executed. Student will remotely log into your machine, which will now be the host, on which he will have his working directory wherein he will create all the program codes. Since that machine is SSHable, he can have the bash interface, or it is better to have bash interface because 20 students are there in a batch. If there are less number of students, you can try the X11 interface as well, where they'll get a X11 kind of interface too. Okay. Now, once the student runs the container, he can now work with the coding part, and he can understand the coding. Now, if 20 containers start simultaneously, the machine is going to get lagged. So, if this server has more than 8 GB of RAM, it's well and good. But at least other option would be that student works on his own machine. For that, you need to take a little effort and explain the student how to do step number 0 and step number 1. Then they can do it on their own as well. I guess I'm pretty clear about this particular idea. I'm now going to stop this session. Hope you might have certain questions. You could send those questions to my email ID, that is anup.kunte@kgce.edu.in. Thank you for patiently listening.